Hi, Justin.
Hi, Brandon.
How are you?
Woo!
Oh, that's a loaded question. I'll
That's
start it. Let me try again. How have you been in the last 10 minutes?
woo!
There we go. I'm here for
I
that.
just do I just ancestral woo when people ask me that now. That's kind of all I got.
That's all
There,
you got. Just a
there
little
might be
release.
words for it, but I haven't found them yet.
I'm every day just trying to figure out how to articulate this more and more. I have a white husband. I'm trying to articulate to him. He just sees me walking around quietly in my feelings, and he's like, "What's going on?"
No, I know. I have to have cross racial conversations with my partner as well.
All the time. Well, let's start this way. I like to have my guests introduce themselves. So you introduce yourself, anything you want us to know, starting with your pronouns.
Oh, okay. So he, him, Justin Simien is my name. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a storyteller.
Yeah, you are. Fuck
Yeah.
yes. You're very, very important story makers,
Thank
filmmaker.
you.
I'm a huge fan. I'm going to plug you for yourself, Dear White People, Bad Hair,
Yes.
and you're relaunching your podcast.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I should have plugged better.
No, it's
So
okay.
yes, so Dear White People is probably what most people know me for. But Bad Hair is coming out on Hulu October 23rd. It is a nutso horror movie about a killer weave, literally. And I have a podcast called Don't At Me, which is essentially really shady conversations between me and other typically black, but sort of marginalized people who are also creators in this interesting industry called Hollywood.
In this, it's funny. I also talk about how I know my guests, and I came to the live record with you and
Oh
Lena
my
Wade.
God, yeah, at the LA Film Festival.
Yes, I sat
Yeah.
right up at the top, and baby, I did leave just weeping with joy from all of your inspirational stories. So I'm
We
very
keep it
excited.
real. We keep it real. We try to
Y'all
give it a little
definitely kept it real.
shade, some gems, some stuff you could use in your life, but also it's really just an excuse to like talk to people.
Talk
I'm
shit
such a
with people.
I'm such an introvert. I feel like the most like conversation I get is doing my podcast or doing things like this.
Yes. Well, how about we get into it then?
Let's get into it.
I'm gonna ask you the Black folks question of the day. So this is
Okay.
coming out in a few weeks, and so anyone watching this is a particularly heavy week, and so I would like to ask a joyous question,
Mm.
so that we can have a little bit of Black joy inside of our lives. So my question today is: what is the most important song in your life by a Black artist, and why? It's a heavy question. You gotta pick one.
What?
One. Yes. Pick
I have
that
to pick
one.
my favorite song by a
Yes,
black
the
artist.
most important song in your life by a Black artist, and why. And we know it'll change often, but right now, in this moment, what is it and why? Your face.
Um,
Don't be mad. Don't be mad.
I am, and I'm gonna have to like Spotify a little bit because I just feel like the most important, okay, you know what I will say? Someday we'll all be free by Donny Hathaway. This is like,
Ooh.
this actually hit me last night. Like that is a song that like when I know that like I'm feeling the fires of the world, but I haven't cried yet. I haven't like acknowledged it. Like, like especially with like this Jacob Blake stuff, it's like, you see the little headlines, but you're doing other things, and it's just like it's slowly growing in the subconscious, and then you finally read the articles and you look at the video and all this stuff. And
Yes.
so someday we'll all be free is a go-to for me, just because that song was written for Donnie, who was going through a lot of mental disorders and things,
Mhm.
and he's singing the song, but it was actually written for him to help him sort of try to survive as a black
Yeah.
man. And it's just a song that just holds me like a hug. It lets me cry. It's a beautiful song.
Yeah, that's a good option. Wait, I'm gonna give you one, and then I'm gonna ask for a second one
Yes.
because I saw your face, and I want to give you an opportunity to give us a second one as well.
Okay.
I want to give you a
I've
gift.
got I've got both now. I've got them both in my. It just took me a second. That's a big
It's a
question.
big. I know. Well, these questions are big, and then we bring it back in. So, what's your second
Okay.
one? Give me your second one right now.
You ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
It's "Believe in Yourself" from The Wiz. And specifically,
Wow.
it's the Diana Ross version,
Of
although
course
the,
it is.
the Lena Horne version goes real hard. But the
Yes.
Diana Ross version, where she sounds like she's on the brink of tears, my gay black ass, I literally sit and listen to that song sometimes because, like, we're so engrossed in the business of seeing the horror and telling others about the horror that
Yeah.
sometimes you just need like Diana Ross telling you to believe in yourself. Like seriously, like it is the salve sometimes that I need.
Wait, Diana Ross sings that song? I thought.
Mm-hmm. She sings it. There's like a pre-version of it that she sings to, Scarecrow and the Lion and Tin Man,
Oh
and then she
yes,
turns around and it's like, but what about me? And then Lena Horne's like, boom, and then she like really gives
yes.
it to you. But there's like a little pre-part that Diana does. It's like a heartbreak, and I love it.
I mean, when she sings "Home" at the end, that brink of tears.
Woo! Home is the one too, but believe in yourself. I love because it's like it's not the one everyone thinks about from The Wiz.
Yeah, yeah,
but,
yeah.
but it is the song that for me is like why The Wiz is important, because it was that song in the original show too. It was like Black people, like we are just as important and our stories are just
As important
as the white versions, and
yes.
we have a right to tell them, and it really like it actually tells my soul what it needs to hear.
Did you know? So, did you know The Wizard of Oz before you knew The Wiz?
The first movie I ever remember ever seeing is The Wiz. When I was
yes,
like before I could speak, I remember seeing that scene where they confront Richard Pryor and turning to my mom and trying to tell her, but I couldn't speak English. This is literally my first like memory of
yeah.
seeing a movie is watching The Wiz.
I didn't know. Somebody had to tell me The Wizard of Oz. The Wiz was based off of The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, same. Oh yeah. Oh no, I had to. Oh yeah, I had to figure that out. I remember like telling. I remember like, oh, my cat is gonna be all up. She just waits quietly until a Zoom starts, and then it's like my
she's
time
like
to
right
shine.
through it.
Oh, she's gonna be making herself known. But yeah, I remember finding that out and being like, wait, what?
Judy, what? What?
Judy,
Judy who? I don't know. Okay, wait. Now let me give you my song.
Yes.
So I feel like, and I'm because they're about to do their verses on Monday. I feel like it's important for me to say that Brandy was my original Beyonce. Before there was Beyonce, for me.
Oh come on,
Brandy's
the best.
And so I'm gonna say almost doesn't count. Really, right now, it's still right. Ooh. It still hits.
It hits. All the Brandy shit hits. Like,
what's your favorite Brandy song?
Honestly, I'm gonna go to "Wanna Be Down" just because like I have a very specific memory of that song coming on the radio in the morning and waking me up for school. You know what I mean? So like I have a very like nostalgic feeling for that song, but particularly like the Full Moon album, that whole album, like, oh my God, I just would listen to that album. He is! It's like the deep cuts. Yes! They go so hard. Yes! And like B-Rockin' and all that, like, Roddy Jerkins stuff. Oh, that was like my sweet spot.
I was in boarding school when that album came out, and I was so mad because at the time I was dating this white woman, and she wanted white woman.
So you're a silver star.
Come on. And so she wanted to borrow my Brandy album, and I let her borrow the Full Moon album, and I never saw it again.
You know what?
Like pre-iTunes, so I was real tight.
I would have been very upset. That would not have been okay.
It would not have been okay. I mean, obviously the relationship didn't work out for us.
Yeah, it didn't work out for other reasons, I guess. But that certainly feels like the main. That feels like the main reason.
That was the main reason.
And frankly, it was a really good call. So,
I mean, anyone who's going to take your Brandy album and not give it back, that's not that's a trash person.
No, not before we live together. No.
And what's my other song? What's another song? I kind of want to say like obviously like Brandy Cinderella, but I'll try and go Living Single theme song. I'm gonna just throw it in there.
Okay, that is adorable. What is the most important song to you right now? Living Single theme song. That's the best answer.
I don't know if there's a title to it. All I know
in a 90s kind of world,
I'm glad
you're glad that you have your girls.
Put your hands up. What? Put your hands up. That's right.
I'm not mad at it.
Wait, let me ask you, what's your favorite 90s sitcom? I'll even let you do early 2000s, 90s, early 2000s.
90s, I mean, I guess it's Living Single. I mean, that's like the classic. It's like Living Single is kind of like Golden Girls, where like when you put it on, it just always hits. Like it always fucking works. Yeah, I guess so. But I also like I was really like into like
Oh,
Girlfriends
of
and
course.
like that whole era, like the UPN era. Like I was
The
super into all
Parkers,
those.
Moesha, One on One.
Not as much the Parkers, but yeah, I watched some Moesha. I'm just keeping it real. I didn't really watch
And
the Parkers.
I appreciate that.
I have nothing against anybody involved, you know.
Yeah.
But
I loved it.
yeah,
I love my Parker's Moesha back to back.
I love
It's
that they
like
both existed, but I would watch Moesha and then like politely put on something
Bill.
else. I'm keeping it honest, guys, because I'm black, gay, and I'm a nerd. So sometimes I would watch Star Trek. Sorry, I
Oh,
know.
T
I was a very
now you
confused child.
you got to explain to me because Star Trek is
It's a
not Star
lot.
Wars. I know that.
It's oh girl, yeah, no, it is not.
I know that.
Okay, all right, okay.
Patrick Stewart, right?
He was on one of the Star Treks. Yes.
There are multiple.
There are so many. Yes. I believe during this time period, okay, so the 90s is Star Trek The Next Generation, which is
Okay.
Patrick Stewart, Whoopi Goldberg, LeVar Burton. It's like the big one.
Okay.
Then there's also Deep Space Nine. That's the one with the black captain, but they don't fly anywhere. They just stay on the one space station.
So what
And
they
then
doing?
they just hanging out, you know, they talking about religion and stuff.
Oh,
And then
okay.
and it's like different cultures like mixing in this space station. It's like a
Okay.
whole thing. And then there's Star Trek Voyager, where the white lady captain gets lost in deep space
Uh-huh.
and they have to find their way back. So now you get it.
Okay, yeah. And what's happening right now? Doesn't CBS have one right now?
There are two going on right now. There's one with and I don't know why I have to explain Star Trek by the black people involved in it, but I just that's
I
where
know
we're at right now.
that's where we are. Yes.
But there's
I
like a
appreciate it.
there's like a black lady Star Trek right now called Star Trek Discovery, which is the shit and actually like
Yes.
really fucking fun, and you don't have to know Star Trek to like get into it.
Okay.
And then there's Star Trek Picard, which is the next generation cast. And it kind of helps to like know a little bit about Star Trek Next Generation. But
Okay. And then I
it's
saw
that
there's a
cast.
cartoon. I just
There's
saw
a
Billboard in
they're
Hollywood.
doing all of it, honey. They're doing all of it. There's a cartoon. I don't watch the cartoon, not out of like protest or anything. I just, you know,
You just haven't. You're
I just
busy.
haven't had time. I
you're
haven't had time.
you're busy. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. My favorite 90s sitcom, apart from Living Single, ooh, I want to say like Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Woo! Okay.
Is that the favorite? I don't know if that's the
That's
favorite.
the yeah.
I don't know if that's the favorite, but I appreciated it.
I also kind of want to throw Living Color in there, even though it's not really a sitcom, it's more a variety show.
Yeah,
But that
yeah.
the more and more I think about it, like that show was really fucking important.
It is. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it when it was on. I understand that they birthed like literally
Yeah, a
Hollywood
galaxy of
royalty,
stars.
a galaxy of stars. But I didn't watch it when it was on. I watched Mad TV. I was a
Oh,
Deborah
me too.
Wilson.
Me too.
Deborah Wilson.
Deborah Wilson, Phil Lamar. My favorites.
I mean,
I had Phil Lamar on Don't At Me the other day, and he did my favorite Michael Jackson impersonation of all time. There's a skit called Action Jackson on
uh-huh.
Mad TV where it's like Michael Jackson and Elizabeth Taylor and like children and Bubbles like solving crimes, and it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And it's so like his Michael Jackson is just so.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
did amazing impressions on that show. I mean,
Oh.
Deborah Wilson's Whitney was
Woo! It's the best one.
legendary. Legendary.
Easily.
Wait, I still got to give you a 90s sitcom. That is my favorite. I think it's
That's not Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
That's not Hanging with Mr. Cooper because I appreciated Hanging with Mr. Cooper. But even now, like it's on Hulu and I still watch Living Single instead. So it has to be Living Single. Wait, so if you Living Single, how about we just dive into Living Single?
Okay.
Who was your favorite character on Living Single?
God damn. It's like either between Tootie or
How dare you? Regine, please. How dare you? How dare you?
It's either between Regine or Max. I think it's probably Max.
Yes, I'm the same between Regine and Max.
Max
I think I'm Regine. I think I want to be Max, but I think I'm Regine.
And see, I think it's the other way around for me. Like I think I want to be Regine.
Yes.
But my shady ass, you know,
Is
I know
Max.
who I am.
Now, what do you feel? Let's talk about it. What do you feel about the living single friends of it all?
Well, it's just, I mean, there's no opinion to be had. Why did I call her Maxine Sinclair? Her name is Maxine Shaw. There's no opinion to be had. It came first. Like Living Single, like literally came first. So like,
Yes.
so what is frustrating is that I'm not saying Friends is bad. I personally never got into Friends. It was always on, I really was introduced to Friends when I went to college and, had no choice but to be like around white people all of the time. And they loved it. And I tried, but I just never got it. It just never like connected with me. But all of the things it was lauded for, like being like the first sitcom to be about a group of friends and not a family, and like all these conventions that it supposedly broke. Living Single did all of those things first.
Yes.
And frankly, like makes me laugh like to this
Out
day.
loud.
Like and that's not a race thing. Like my partner is white. Like we will both sit there and watch some Living Single episodes
And
like in a
cackle,
row.
yes.
And
yes.
cackle. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Yes. But what do you, I guess I want to formulate this question, because here's my question. When you went to school, was it college or high school that your white friends were watching Friends?
College. Because I went to performing arts high school in Houston, Texas. It was very diverse. And frankly, we didn't really watch TV. We were at the damn school all the time rehearsing and shit. So
Right,
like,
right.
so college was like when I first like hit white people TV culture. Cause like everyone just watched TV all the time. You'd be in the lounge, everyone gathering to watch the same show and all that shit. So like, then I really couldn't avoid it.
And so what's that experience? Like, are you just watching because you're with them, or like what
I just noted that they were watching. I think I tried once to like go to like a friend's viewing party and I was just like, I don't get it. I'm sorry. And y'all are really into this shit. And when you're, what it is, like when you're around a group of people who are really into something and you don't get it, you can't watch with them because like,
yes.
I just become the shadiest person alive. And I start like thinking very bad thoughts about like, because I need to be in opposition or something. I'm not sure, but I don't know what it is, but I
wish I was with you. I started, so I think season 10 or whatever the final season was when I was in high school. And so like, I was in boarding school. And so everybody, I mean, like tears, weeping, cry, like emotional. And I just couldn't give a fuck.
Relate.
I couldn't relate. But what white show I could relate to?
What's that?
Will and Grace. I fucked with Will.
I loved Will and Grace back in the day.
Why do you think we fucked with Will and Grace and not Friends?
Because it's gay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because
it was shady. It was their humor was shady.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, as gay black men, we kind of have to get it where we can get it. You know what I mean? Like, we have to get some culture where we can get it. And I think Friends is so, for me, and I'm not saying this is why I didn't connect with it, but it's just also true. Friends is so devoid of any like semblance of me or my life. Like there's nothing queer really about it. There's nothing black about it. Its sense of humor is different than mine. And like even like the aspirational aspect of like what living in New York might be, like that wasn't my fantasy of that.
Yeah.
For sure. So like on none of those levels did it work for me. I would much rather watch Sex and the City over and over again because I could identify.
Yes.
That show was obviously that was dick. Yeah, obviously that was a show about women, but it's a very queer show.
It's a queer show.
Come on, And so like if I was going to fall into a white fantasy New York world, it would be that one.
When was the first time that you felt like you saw yourself as a gay black man on television? Like, what was the first character that you were like, oh, that's me?
Well, okay, this is going to come off as shady, and I don't mean it this way, but really because there really weren't any openly gay black men. If I'm being honest, it was probably Michael Jackson. Not because Michael Jackson, is representing as an out gay man, and we do not need to have a conversation about Michael Jackson's sexual.
No,
we'll
leave it alone.
We don't need to go there today. But like what I saw in him was a black man who was in no way limited by his blackness, who obviously was embracing a femininity, for lack of a better word, or an androgyny. He was queer in like the classic sense of what the word queer means. And something about him and Prince in particular, like I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what gay was, but I just knew that like they made sense to me more than anyone else. And then as I got older, I want to say like Patrick Ian Polk who made Punks.
Yes.
That was like the first time I really felt like there was gay Black people that were kind of like me and my group of friends. And then even though he's not gay, Donald Glover's character in Community,
Oh.
I encountered that character around the time I was writing Lionel. And, you know, the way he plays Troy is like, he's very like, he just plays it like himself. And he's
Yeah.
like, you know, he's a quirky guy. And I'm quirky and nerdy, and, you know, they're not giving you gay through that character, but it just made me feel like, oh shit, I can put my just weird ass self onto a television show. And so something about him in that show made me feel like I could put myself in Dear White People.
Yeah. I think mine, and I've said this before, Jaleel White, Steve Urkel. But I just remember I loved Steve Urkel so hard, and for whatever reason, again, the freedom in his mannerisms and the freedom in his obviously he's awkward and clumsy, but it just wasn't. I don't know. There was something queer or maybe nerdy. I don't know. There was just
there's something very queer about Steve.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also Fresh Prince.
Yes, actually, that's the one. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Fresh Prince is the 90s sitcom.
Yeah. Fair.
Like,
yes.
Living Single is great.
Yes.
Fresh Prince really is like, anytime you put that shit on, it hits so hard.
We still watch it. We watch it's Living Single and Fresh Prince that we're watching.
Yes. Right now. And Martin's in there too.
Fuck, Martin.
Martin's in there too.
Martin was exciting because the amount of characters that he played on that show.
It was just so zany. Yeah.
It was like,
some of it doesn't age well, and some of it, like, especially with like progressive politics and stuff. I don't know. Sure. But it was so exciting at the time.
At the time, to like see this Black man kind of play all these different characters in a way that it didn't feel like you were allowed to. And it also, I mean, I would have to rewatch it again. I don't know if it ages well, but at the time, it felt very like, oh man, like I want to do that. Like I want to be able to like play 15,000 characters. There was a freedom to it that
it was bold. You know? It was funny the way like The Simpsons was funny, or like Living Single was funny. I'm not Living Single. Living Color was funny, but it was, you know, it was a sitcom. That show's just great.
Yes, for Fresh Prince, just his. And I would love to like fucking. Well, I'm gonna talk about. Do you watch Housewives? Okay, cool. We'll get there. Okay. Sorry. I was like, it'll be fun to talk to you. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Woo!
Black joy. But
ancestral word.
Yes, ancestral fucking scream. I think the way that Will Smith or Will's character, I don't know, would play with his femininity and masculinity. I think I could probably write more.
You're not wrong.
I could write more nuanced conversations about that. But at the time, it was like, oh, I don't know. I just like aspire to be Will. I don't know, right?
And Carlton too.
Who
is not overtly gay, but I'm just kind of like, I knew that me and Carlton had something in common. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know what it was.
We got something in common.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was, but, you know, we had something in common, and we still do. I don't know Alfonso, you know, but Carlton,
we
got those sweaters, and I share something.
Okay, well, let's just fucking do a hard segue to Housewives, which my producer Judith and I were talking about this before you got on, so she'll be very happy. Hi, Judith. Okay, so Housewife franchise, which is your favorite?
Potomac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's my favorite because it's the best one. Don't at me.
How dare you?
It is.
Well, how dare you? I'm having this argument with a lot of people, and maybe it's just my loyalty to Atlanta, but why is Potomac the best for you?
Because it is it's basically like all of the women are game. They're all like on, right? So like they're all a hot mess, but they're all like, we're here to make great TV. And so they're just all really down for it.
Yeah.
And they also legitimately have a lot of money. Like there's like some really rich women on that show. Yes. So you see things like, you know, somebody having a pet parrot or a pet bird that flies around everywhere. Like that's just the kind of thing you really wouldn't see in Atlanta. And so like to me, it's like the perfect blend of like the craziness of Atlanta and, you know, women who are like pulling from Black culture and pulling from all kinds of funny shit, gay culture, to make really good TV. But then it also like has the stakes of Beverly Hills, where you're like, these are people with actual like
actually rich
businesses and like franchises and like, you know, family dynamics that like take place on the national stage. So it's like both of those things. And so you get like, I don't know, for me, it's like I get Black, but I also get bougie, and I also get like, it's like a new setting. It's neither New York or LA, and Atlanta kind of feels like Houston to me. So like, it's like totally escape when I watch Potomac.
Did you feel like Potomac was good out of the gate though?
No, but they all take a while.
I felt like Atlanta.
You're right. Atlanta.
Deshaun.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right. Because doesn't Nene get kicked out, or like she doesn't get let into the party in the first episode or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's party she doesn't get let into, and then Deshaun, the whole arc is that she's going to throw this gala to raise millions, and then she does it.
No, you're right. Atlanta was gold out the gate. You're right.
And then Kim had that shiny wig, and it was like the first time where, you know, there was like a white woman was the token.
Yes, and she was the hottest mess as well.
Oh yes, always with a cigarette, a red.
It was a nice reversal from what we were used to.
Yes.
No, you're right. That OG Atlanta really does go hard.
Yeah, so Atlanta to me is still my like number one, although Potomac is a close second.
They 3 seasons in a row, they have just blown my hair back. Like
Atlanta or Potomac?
Potomac. I cannot believe that they are making, like, it is just so, like, I don't know. And, you know, with reality, especially like the Housewives, I don't know how much of it is really their lives, how much of it is like completely scripted, how much of it is like the fights are real, but they're coming up with a new reason for I can't tell what the blend is on Potomac, but I buy it every time. Like when these women get into these fights and these, like, I am on board and they go there. The whole, like, the husband might be gay thing going on for 3 seasons is, I'm sorry, that's masterwork.
Michael,
Michael, that's masterwork.
Well, I love a season. It's brilliant storytelling. And I know you appreciate brilliant storytelling. I live for the edits where it's like they start, it's like 5 months later, and then that's how you start the season, and they're like,
oh yeah, that's when you know it's about to get good as hell. And what I also love is that, like, the different women are like, they're all capable of playing all of the typical housewives, you know, archetypes. So like, yes, someone can be a hero in one season and then be the villain the next, and they all like really just do it. Like, they do it, they really commit to it. Whereas with Atlanta, you can feel there's some hesitancy from Nene and, you know, sometimes, you know, what's her name? Twirl with the Wind. Not Kenya. No, Kenya. There's a bit of an editing going on about what they want to show and stuff. And with Potomac, they just are like,
well, I feel like Potomac is young enough still that they're like, and I don't mean age-wise, I mean season-wise. They're like, before that they don't have, like, Nene's been doing this
a long time, and she has to be guarded, you know. And Potomac, they're just like, you want to know this? I'm also a mess in this way, and it's like, okay, great, let's film that.
So Potomac, when they introduced Monique with the bird, that's when I was like, oh,
I'm sorry, that's fucking genius.
That she named T'Challa, I was like, oh,
T'Challa, and the fact that Monique is the Lisa Vanderpump is like, I didn't even see that coming.
I'm Team Monique, by the way. What team are you on?
What are the 2 choices? Because like it depends on which. It depends on which
it's Monique or Candace. About. I'm talking about Monique versus Candace. I'm
definitely Team Monique versus Candace. Yeah.
Karen or Giselle? Giselle's house is wild.
It's wild. I'm obsessed with Giselle. Like, I think she's so good at that show. It is like, because she's so messy, but she's also like lovely, kind of, and like she's charismatic
and wonderful.
It's like
drinks with her.
Even when she does, because, you know, I feel like all of them have to do some fuckboy shit as just part of the job. Like, you have to stir the pot, you have to spread gossip, you have to do something shady. But when she does it, I don't know, it doesn't ever turn me off. I'm just like,
fully support it.
I fully support it.
I have to say that what I do appreciate about Potomac, and I was saying this to Judith, was that their insults are basic. And they don't try and reinvent the wheel. They don't. Candace is like, Ashley's a roach, and I'm going to tweet that she's a roach. And that's the insult.
Candace and Ashley, if they ever become friends on the
Oh, you know
show
it's coming.
and
Oh, you
team
know it's
up,
coming.
oh, I feel bad for anybody that's not on their team because
You know it's
they
coming.
both play dirty.
Oh, 1,000%.
Oh,
1,000%. And then they love to apologize after. But they
I love when Candace gets hyper articulate when she's wrong, like, well, it actually at that juncture, okay, I didn't really believe that what you were saying came with the right kind of malintent. And you're like, what? But it's
not
just like
juncture.
they just play their parts.
Now, what do you feel about
it.
Garcelle? What do you feel about Garcelle as
Everything. Garcelle is me, point blank, period,
Garcelle
on that
is
show.
all of us.
Everything from the not showing up to a few of them, to leaving early, to being behind that little like blindfold thing last night when they were looking for her, to like coming out the gate being like, Kyle, I don't like you. Everything Garcelle says and does, I'm like, that would be me. Like that would be me on the show. Yeah. I would definitely not show up to all these things.
She's like, listen, at the end of the day, y'all are a bunch of white women, and I'm not here to play.
I love that they don't. She is not pretending. Like, no. I love that when we met her, she was like, here's my black friend. Like, that was, literally, like, that was
episode 3 was like, here are my, which was so jarring. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this.
I've never seen
black
that.
women on Beverly Hills.
Right. But it was good, though, because I'm like, people are like, well, is it weird that she's the only black person? I'm like, this is the thing that I think is actually good about it, is that, like, most black people, particularly in Hollywood and California, like that is our experience. Like yes. I have a lot of black friends and I have a lot of white friends, but when I'm with my white friends, 9 times out of 10, I'm the only black person there.
Yes.
And so like that actually is part of the experience of being black in Beverly Hills. And I love that they didn't really shade that or shy away from it. It's like, yeah, it is a bit of she is having to kind of journey from a different place to be with them.
Yes.
That actually is a part of what it feels like.
When you see, because it's so funny, like I know that I am often at work or wherever, like the only black person among a bunch of white people or in WeHo, and I don't feel anything about it because it's, I've been in private white schools and universities for however long. So that's just been how I grew up. But whenever I see it, I'm like, there's only one black person in there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. When you see it, it's different than when you're in it because you sort of become adjusted to it. But then you see it and you're like, how is this tolerable and acceptable for so long? Because it really is like someone put it to me the other day that was really lovely. And it was like, the thing is that to be black in white spaces means that like, oftentimes we have to be in character. And it doesn't mean like it's not us, but it's like it's a very curated version of ourselves. Like, when I'm depressed and I'm walking around the house because a black man was shot, like I don't bring that person to a party. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so this time of so-called racial reckoning is actually an opportunity for us to figure out how to be ourselves. And I think it is jarring for white people when we're actually being ourselves around them.
Yes.
Because they've never seen us in this kind of pain, like sort of like pushed up against every other day reality. And I don't know. I don't know why I know why we do it, but it's almost automatic that we sort of are, I don't know, 75% of ourselves with white people. Yeah.
Yes. It's kind of it feels like it's always been the norm. And part of it is like getting ahead. And part of it is just like, well, I think also for me, as a queer black person, where sometimes you're not black enough, and then sometimes you're not black enough, and so there's sometimes a safety in it because there's no one questioning your blackness. Well,
there's the gay black culture. Where is it? And this is not the fault of gay black people, mind you, because there's a lot of gay black creators trying to make culture, but it usually gets funneled up through, black female culture, which is wonderful. I stand Beyonce, all that, or it gets appropriated by white people, but there isn't like like black gay maleness is not like a protected thing
Right.
by any group. It's not like black people as a whole, we're not really doing enough to protect that. Certainly not in the gay community is there really any meaningful effort to sort of protect and foster, gay black masculinity. And so you have things like, I think black lesbian women, partially because of hip hop, maybe they have a little bit of an edge, but truthfully, like there's not a lot of black queer solidarity in my experience, not opinion, but experience,
Yeah.
in the black community at large. And so I find that like black gay men, we're often just adrift, in another culture. We're either trying to like find ourselves in a black masculine culture, or we're trying to find ourselves in a white gay culture, or we're trying to find ourselves with a patchwork of cultures, but there's really not a lot of like, yay, gay black men. There's like that's not a thing.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think racism and homophobia combined,
right.
It's sort of like I think that, if we want to really go there, which I think we do.
Yeah, we do.
The way white supremacy works is that it puts pressure on communities that are not white. And in particular, it has historically put a lot of pressure on the black community. And within the black community, in order to withstand that pressure, this idea of like the strong black man and strong black masculinity that hits a certain way and that sort of like corresponds with, Christianity as it was colonized into us. Like it just sort of created this perfect storm to where we continue to oppress ourselves in the way that we were oppressed. Because the thing is that like there was a time in this country where queer encompassed black people too. Queer just meant the other. It just meant anything that wasn't white, male, straight. And so like, one of the things that white people have done over the years to subjugate black people is to breed out of us all of the qualities that they found queer, including, homosexuality. And so that means like in our culture and black culture, we don't really know how to hold space for it at large because we were just not allowed to really until recently. And so it just isn't there to the degree that other, aspects of black culture are. And I think that's part of it. We don't know, like straight black men don't know how culturally to stand up for queer black men right now. They just don't know how to do it. It's an awkward fit. It's not like people are homophobic and they hate gays, but it's just like no one taught that growing up, I mean,
I think that's interesting. I mean, I think there are some who could give a fuck, but I do think there's this gray area of people who, as you're saying, like don't know how to do it, even if they're not
they care.
They just like they care, but they're like, I don't know what.
Like, what are they supposed to do? Yes, queen. Like, they have no idea how to engage in it, and we don't have, honestly, within the black community, we really don't have a lot of solidarity. And look, here's the thing. I'm an introvert, okay? There is like, I'm a part of like a black gay brunch group. I went maybe 2 times. That is because I'm an introvert. So I'm not saying I'm only solution. I'm part of the solution. I don't know what I am, but I think part of it though is that they're really, it's just so fringe when you do find gay black male culture being promoted, and even much more rarely, black queer cultures encompassing all the different versions of being queer. It's always on the fringe. It's always like, so it's not something that like has gained like a national, black women have it the worst out of anyone, I think, in this country, black women and black trans people and all that. But I will say there is culturally, we understand what it means to support black women. Like black girl magic is a thing, is a concept in culture. There's not a black queer magic movement in culture. There's not a celebrate and protect black queer people. I feel like the first time I ever heard that black queer lives matter was maybe 2 months ago. That's the first time I heard that in popular culture.
1,000%. Yes. Do you have any thoughts on like how we create solidarity amongst ourselves as queer people?
I think I think doing things like this, honestly, talking to each other, sharing information, doing each other's podcasts, hanging out, I think that's a big important thing that, like, especially in quarantine, I'm realizing, I got to really put in energy to that. Like, oh, you're a gay black person doing it too? Great. Let's make it a priority to like meet up, and talk through our shit. And then the other part of it is just like being unapologetic about my black queerness and putting it in my work. Because like I came up, and I think it's actually true that I really had to sneak it in. Lionel is sort of like he's secretly the protagonist of the film Dear White People.
Yeah.
Because especially at that time, there was no representation for gay black men that were not just, so flamboyant or almost like caricatures.
Right.
That was such a new idea. It seems crazy to think that, but yeah, like 6 years
Yeah.
ago, like that was unheard of. And so
Yeah.
Lionel kind of has to come in through the back door. And, even with Bad Hair, there's a queer sensibility to it, but I'm telling a story about a black woman because women in horror movies is it's a trope. And obviously as a gay black man, like I have a very intimate connection to black femininity,
Right.
and feel like I can talk about it. But like, Moonlight doesn't get made by a gay black man and win an Oscar. It gets made by a straight black man to win an Oscar. And even that movie is like, it's about homosexuals, but is it about gay people? Is it about people who are out and proud? And not really. It feels like those stories are always put to the fringes. And so part of what I'm trying to do is like, okay, well, how do I put it in the fucking mainstream?
Yeah.
Because so much mainstream culture comes directly from
queer
black culture, like
yes,
directly.
1000%. Yes.
The slang that we're using, the fashion, the music we're listening to,
yes.
the aesthetics on Instagram,
yes.
the color story, like it is mind blowing how much comes from queer black people. And I think we're at that point where it's time to just say like, no, we're going to say what this is.
Yeah.
We're going to own it. And I'm not going to just tell my story through really wonderful female characters or, through a gay character that's like kind of on the side. Like I want to tell my stories in the middle of the thing.
Yeah.
And we have to kind of fight for that.
I think that you just brought up such saying it, I think is, and maybe because of these last couple of months, people have more freedom to say these things, but it is this thing that I realize just personally and from my experience where it's like you are trying to hide it. And I've never been in my career, I've never been in the closet, but I have understood that there's a way that I have to play and finagle. And when you, pump up more queerness and when you bring it back down and how to play with your queerness so you can get ahead, as opposed to just like calling a thing and being like, that thing that you're doing is completely black queer ball culture. So like, what do we...
Black queer is like a layer in Photoshop. It's like we click it on and off depending on where, or we move it back, depending on where we are. And it's not because we're ashamed. It's because we know that like it could be detrimental to our careers and to our social life. And so it's a defense mechanism that it's not like throw it out, but at the same time, I'm trying to figure out like how can I challenge it though in my own way. And really make it a priority to tell black queer stories and to mainstream. Like I have to say, I'm really like, some might think it's too much. There's been a RuPaul's Drag Race on for years, it feels like. Like we have RuPaul's Drag Race, we have RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, we have Canada, we have the UK, we have, the various like live show series. We have Celebrity, we have We Are Here, we have all that. And it like, it actually, there's something very political about that because RuPaul in a relatively short amount of time has mainstreamed what I think was probably the most fringe aspect of black queer culture. And now it's like, it's so in the mainstream now that it's almost like Pat. It's like, drag queens. Like it's so, and we need to be doing that with all aspects of our lives.
Yes.
And in the way that RuPaul has so clearly actively made that his mission is to like, I'm going to normalize drag. And that is exactly what's happening.
And I think the next step for me inside of that, it's super exciting to see like everyone watching Drag Race or into drag or whatever. But I also feel like the next part of that which is why I appreciate you as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, is what is the full story of that person, right? Because it's still steeped in the transformation and the glamour of it. And the catching up, which is wonderful. But then there's like, well, when does that person get to like what are they doing when that makeup is off and they're home by themselves and not in a competition, right? Like what is that version of it? And can we as queer people be valued, especially black queer people, be valued if we don't put on makeup for you, if we don't get into our heels, if we don't snap our fingers? Like where is the value for those stories, especially in large groups? Like there hasn't been anything since Noah's Ark. Why is that? I feel like there's something really gross about the fact that black queer people aren't allowed to be on camera or tell stories in such a, as just being themselves, as just being
Yeah.
regular as fuck.
I think part of it is we get it from both sides. We get it from white gay communities. We get it from white people at large. We get it from black people. We get like there's just so much shame and homophobia that we're just getting kind of killed from all angles, I think,
Yeah.
but yet are so relied upon to create
Ooh.
culture.
So like literally creating
I mean,
culture
black gay people are everywhere in entertainment. Like they're
everywhere
behind
and nowhere, behind
everywhere and
everything,
nowhere.
everywhere,
Everywhere
behind
and
every
nowhere.
look, every
Every
look
time,
that
every
you're
time,
like, ah,
every
probably not.
look, every time you like cut to them in a dance rehearsal, who's the choreographer? You know what I'm saying? It's just like
Yes.
we're literally creating this from the ground up and
Creating images, creating brands, creating empires for people.
for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been doing that since the beginning of the country, by the way, but now it just feels particularly galling, I have to
Yeah.
say, because I don't get called to direct Black Panther, but I also don't get called to direct Moonlight either. I live in this like in between spot as a gay
Oof.
filmmaker, and that shit's just real. Okay, like
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, but it's what it
That is
is.
what
Like
it is. Yeah.
I'm not thought of when you think of Black male directors because I'm a Black gay man. And I'm
Yeah.
also not who you think of when you think of gay directors or avant-garde directors because of, I fit into this other category in your mind. And
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
Well, let me ask you, because I could talk to you forever, but let me ask you this last question because we're
Yeah.
hitting that. So with all of being on the fringes and with all of the oppression and all of the getting it from both sides, from black straight culture, from white straight culture, and like the fight to not be erased, I'm sure that
Mm.
takes an emotional toll. And for you to also be one of the few queer black filmmakers that are in the forefront in the public, what's your safe space? How do you recharge and revitalize so that you can have the fuel to not be erased?
I'm trying to work on it, to be
Mm,
honest with you, but it's both recognizing that what I do is not who I am, even though I'm incredibly passionate about what I do. But like there needs to be time where I'm not trying to come up with some brilliant ass way to attack white patriarchy. And I
yeah.
just need to like make spaghetti with my boyfriend and smoke weed and watch The Housewives. Like that time is actually very important to me, where
Yes.
like we're not saving the world. We are just here for each other and we're listening and
Yes.
we're engaging and we're having fun, and there's just downtime where I don't have to be on, because I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, is that like to be a gay black man and to navigate society, you have to have it, you have to be able to turn on, you just
Yeah.
do. And I need space and time to turn off. And I also, therapy has
Mm,
really helped me with this, but like recognizing when it's not my shit. Like people in Hollywood are so good at making you feel the pain that they're feeling and taking it on and solving it for them without like you realizing, oh wait, that's their problem,
oof.
and particularly when I'm running a show, where yeah, it's my show, but I'm not paying for it. I don't own the rights to it. I'm not setting the production schedule. I'm not setting the salaries. Like I'm actually in the middle of a process. So I don't need to take ownership over all of your issues, studio or network, and all of your issues, cast and crew. Like I owe everybody a little bit, but I can't take on all of your
All of
things,
it. Yeah.
as if it was my fault. And like, oh my God, I gotta like, pray that they let me keep making the show because I just barely got in the door as a black gay man. Like I have to shed some of that stuff.
Mm,
And, I gave my mom this advice when she was dealing with a doctor. And I was like, Mom, you got to talk like a white lady. You got to get in there and ask to see some managers, And
yes.
I think like this racial reckoning, and I keep putting quotation marks because really, but like
Yes, I understand.
this moment in time though, what it's been really good for is I think letting black people know that, okay, maybe this is time to stop asking for permission, and it's time to just
Yes.
get in there and just say it how you feel, and like say no, and to push back and to pull away, protect
Boundaries.
yourself.
That's what
Yeah.
I feel. I mean, this racial reckoning or global awakening has definitely been like, oh, boundaries.
Yeah.
I have not had boundaries. It's like
No.
if I oh, you need me where to do what can do I'll take it all on. And
We'll
now it's
do
like,
it.
we'll
You're
do
gonna
it.
let me in?
You let me
I'm
in?
acceptable. I get paid?
You're gonna
Great.
let me in the room? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm here. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Boundaries and
We got to pull
boundaries.
that back. We got to pull
Yeah.
that energy back a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, Justin, this has been.
This is
I
wonderful.
mean,
It
we
went by so
talked
quick.
about so quick. We talked about music. We did housewives.
We did. We covered a
We
full
covered
range
a
of
full.
topics.
It was a whole thing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And your podcast, when does it
It's called Don't
relaunch?
At Me. It's out right now.
Yes.
We have a shady ass episode with Janixa Bravo that just came out. We have Alma Harrell, who did Honey Boy, out, and Sam J, who did an amazing Netflix special called 3 a.m. in the
Brilliant,
morning.
brilliant, brilliant,
And a
brilliant.
lot of guests coming this season. We got
Amazing.
Issa, we got Don Davis. It's going to be hot.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I hope to see you soon.
Absolutely, man. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for having me.
Yes, absolutely.